All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. I think it's fantastic that we've got so many people on a Zoom meeting on a Sunday morning. Fantastic. Okay, well, I'll open the meeting by acknowledging that we're meeting on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional owners, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Okay, now, firstly, have we got any apologies?
No,
Jude?
I haven't received any apologies.
Okay, thank you. All right, now everyone should have received the minutes from the 2020 AGM. And so I move that those be accepted. Do we have a seconder or a mover and a seconder? Okay, Brian and, well, I can move it, I suppose. Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, well, the next item is my report, which I will now give. Now, just point out that I've been the president since September 2020, the AGM then, and so my report actually encompasses the last 12 months up until September 2021. All right, well, in time, one of the biggest campaigns at the beginning of my presidency was the campaign to try and save and restore the Glebe Island Bridge. And that started in a major way on the 3rd of December last year, when we decided to acknowledge the fact that the bridge had been closed for 25 years. And on that day, we held a rally to protest its state of disrepair and need for it to be restored for a pedestrian way and a cycleway. The rally was well attended.
Hello.
It might be good if people mute themselves.
Hello.
I can hear a lot of noise, which is a bit distracting. So if you can mute.
Hi, Bill.
yourself.
Sorry, I think I was on a.
Okay, if everyone just mutes themselves, and if you want to speak, just unmute, because otherwise it's very distracting and hard to hear.
Hi, Bill.
Sorry. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I was going to say it was well attended by Glebe Society members and residents from Glebe, Pyrmont, Ultimo, Roselle, Annandale, Balmain, cyclists and passive water sports people. And we received some very positive publicity from media issues about the bridge. Yeah. That has continued in bits and pieces since then. Whenever a new plan comes up, we get some more publicity. However, the problem is that there's been no actual positive plan in relation to the bridge. There have been, as you'd all be aware, the reopening of the bridge has been part of plans for the Blackwattle Bay precinct, the Bays West precinct and the fish markets. It's all in there as something that's going to happen, but there hasn't been any actual commitment or plan as to how and when that might happen. So that is an ongoing and will be, I think, for some time, an ongoing issue that we will need to address. One of the other major issues, and probably the major issue for the last 12 months and ongoing, is the need to actively try and protect Glebe from overdevelopment. And indeed, we've been seeing a lot of that. The state government, of course, owns most of the southern end of Glebe and has decided to slowly sell it off to replace 2 housing department low-level multi-unit blocks with 8 and 12-storey blocks of units. And this has been of great concern. We are actively opposing these state government plans. The selling off of public-owned property, which has been both public housing and used for community purposes, is something we're active against. And the reason for the sell-offs is both to raise money for the government and also because the government is not prepared to pay the costs for the repairs that are badly needed on a lot of these dwellings. The first one I'll refer to is what's happened at 2A to 2D Wentworth Park Road and 17 to 32 Cowper Street. Initially, we were actively involved in opposition to the redevelopment by removing the properties from the St Philip's Heritage Conservation Area, which clearly restricted their height. the state government needed to get approval to remove the property so they could in fact lift the restrictions on the height. We are actively involved in opposing that, but that removal has been removed. Those restrictions have been removed. We've also objected to a development application that's been made in respect of this property. Members of the management committee spoke both at the council's planning panel and also at the council meeting in opposition to it. Unfortunately, the development application was approved, and in part I think this was due to the fact that at the last minute the state government announced that the housing would be 100% public housing, and so that although of course we support it being 100% public housing, that's at the cost of a substantial development. The second area has been the Franklin Street development. And in regard to that, the proposal, of course, is to demolish existing low-rise units and replace them with 3 12 to 13 story residential unit blocks. Of these, only 1/3 is proposed to be for public housing, and the rest will be sold off to private buyers. These properties are the homes of long-term housing residents, public housing residents, who'll be required to vacate and move elsewhere. There's been strong resident opposition to the proposal, and the society has supported the residents. The redevelopment proposal increases the density by 350%, provides completely inadequate open space, and is out of keeping with the heritage nature of Glebe. The society has made objection to the proposal and has supported rallies by residents opposing the development. As yet, no development application has been lodged. The society met with the Minister for Water, Property and Housing, Melinda Pavey, regarding the state government plans for Glebe and to voice our opposition to their current plans. One thing we were told was that they don't have any further plans other than the 2 areas that I've referred to of demolishing and approving larger developments, or trying to have approved larger developments. We've also been actively involved with, as I referred to before, meetings with the City of Sydney councillors, making our opposition known and talking to them about our concerns and our worries. As also, we've had a lot of support in our opposition from Jamie Parker, who has been actively involved and particularly concerned about the residents at Franklin Street. The next issue in regard to development has been Bajura. The society has for some long time been concerned about the proposed private large-scale apartment development opposed for the rear of the state heritage listed home at Bajura. The Metropolitan Remand Centre's fate has been determined by the Land and Environment Court, and it can be demolished. So this leaves open the possibility of a proposal for the development. The society has made a submission calling upon the council to require protection of Bajura, both now and in the future, and requesting that they continue to consider the importance of Bajura House, and that they do not surround it with inappropriate scale housing and development. Then we move to Blackwattle Bay. The state government released its proposal for redevelopment of Blackwattle Bay in the last year. The plan for this is an extraordinary overdevelopment of the bay with towers up to 45 stories high, little open space, no reasonable plans for the extra traffic that will be created, and we'll have Glebe looking at a wall of buildings. We have attended 2 meetings called by the Lord Mayor of community representatives opposing the plan, and it's fair to say that everybody's in opposition. The council strongly opposes the plan and seeks the support of residents to oppose it, and we have also made a submission opposing the plan, and this is another ongoing battle which I think is only in the beginning stages. The fish markets, the society continues to be concerned about the impact the building of the fish markets will have on Glebe. We have a representative on the Fish Markets Community Consultative Committee, Orsa Walquist, and she is able to input our issues in relation to the building of it. And already we have, she has on our behalf expressed our concern with regard to pedestrian, vehicle and cycle traffic, pollution in the bay and the noise and parking issues. So please, any issues you have, let the Society know and we can raise these matters. The plan for the fish markets over the water next to the Foreshore Park and Glebe High School, of course, that is now a done deal. That's where it's going to be. A further development has been proposed for the White Bay area. This proposal is still in the planning stages. Part of the proposal involves the repurposing of Glebe Island Bridge and also the White Bay Power Station, which we have supported it clearly not being demolished. And there's also, I mean, part of the plan also includes a foreshore walk, which we support. These are also, of course, issues for Glebe because the impact on us of having a pleasant foreshore walk and parkland are very beneficial. And we have made a submission in regard to this redevelopment proposal. There was also a proposal for a concrete batching plant at White Bay, and that will, because it has been approved, take up foreshore land at White Bay. It's obviously an ugly industrial use in an area which really one would hope would be open for the community and parkland. In part, the concrete batching plant is to replace the high mix batching plant that was at the fish market site. However, this one is larger in scale, much more of an eyesore, and will operate for 24 hours, 7 days a week. And of course, residents of Glebe are concerned about the noise travelling across the water and also the attractive view it will create. I'm joking. Now, the other thing that one of the other things the Glebe Society has been involved in, which is perhaps a bit different and has been very exciting, is the making of videos for Glebe, about Glebe for our website, and just generally publicise what Glebe's all about. Initially, earlier in my presidency, we were approached by some Chinese students from the University of Technology who wanted to make a video about Glebe. And with the guidance of members of the management committee, they made a video called Treasure in Our City. It's a lovely video, which I recommend you to watch. It's on the website. It's spoken in Mandarin, and it's about Glebe from the Chinese students' perspective. And our planning convener, Ian Stevenson, has also been actively involved in producing 6 videos about Glebe. The videos provide history of Glebe and also historic battles that Glebe has had, and also ongoing and upcoming battles. And there's a series of 6, and they are also well worth seeing. And it presents a great perspective on Glebe and a great addition to our website. Another item of concern has been the review of the Heritage Act, and the Society has concerns about the potential weaknesses in some of the proposals to review proposed review provisions of the Heritage Act 1977. Our concern is that other than a few iconic heritage properties, the proposed changes will result in making it easy to develop heritage listed properties. And we've also made a submission objecting to those changes. We've also been concerned about creating a community centre for Glebe in the town hall. We want Glebe Town Hall to be much more accessible for community use. Having a community centre would create or promote opportunities for community activities. We had a meeting last year with the Lord Mayor about the proposal, but with the advent of the pandemic, the project was very much placed on the back burner by the council. We have tried to reignite talks about that, but so far, aside from a few noises of sort of support from some members, some councillors, there's been no movement forward. We have been concerned about the fact that with the pandemic, a lot of the services previously provided by council just just for ordinary things have become extremely restricted, and the difficulty that's ongoing about arranging venues for community groups for activities will continue and has indeed been made worse after the pandemic. The pop-up cycleway, members of the Glebe community have continued to express their concern about the safety and lack of access for residents as a result of the pop-up cycleway on Bridge Road. Despite only being temporary until March 2021, its temporary status continues. The cycleway, which stops and starts, continues in its current state with no resolution of any of the issues raised by the society or its Glebe residents. Blue Wrens. The Blue Wrens have continued to actively promote biodiversity in Glebe and Forest Lodge, providing 3 grants to educational facilities to encourage knowledge to the younger community members about biodiversity. They continue to carefully monitor our bird community, organising an 8th annual bird survey in November of 2020. Their annual biodiversity lecture was given by John Turnbull, a research fellow from the School of Biological, Earth and Environmental Sciences at the University of New South. I was fully booked and was the most interesting insight into our local marine environment. During COVID, members of the Glebe Society have been active in assisting members of the community impacted by the lockdown during the pandemic. Recently, COVID struck a number of more vulnerable members of our community, and a request was made by the Glebe Youth Service, who had been supporting community members with the provision of food and other essential items for support. A call out was made to Glebe Society membership, and I'm very proud to say that that was very actively taken up, and over $25,000 was raised as a result of that call out, and has significantly assisted the Glebe Youth Service. So I thank everyone for answering that call. It is very important that we be part of the whole of the community of Glebe. On an administrative front, we are proud to have launched a facelift to our website, which hopefully will make it easier to navigate and make more accessible the thousands of pages of information on Glebe, which is available on the website. We have the Communications Subcommittee, and in particular, Tani Burton, Sarah Fogg and Virginia Simpson-Young to thank for their hard work in this regard. We have also partaken in a funding and membership campaign. We have been actively trying to raise funds so that we have funds available for campaigns and other causes which the Society supports. Unfortunately, many of our fundraising activities and community activities have been cancelled due to the COVID lockdown. We have participated in a membership drive by producing postcards which have been letterboxed to the whole of Glebe and Forest Lodge to try and solicit more members, and we have in fact had some significant success in that regard, and we welcome any new members that are here today. We anticipate that with the end of lockdown, a number of Glebe walks will be up and running for the new year, and we also expect to launch more activities such as Glebe Voices, and we encourage members to participate. I'd like to make a big thank you to the management committee and the other volunteers that make the Glebe Society an active and vibrant body that it is. I can tell you I've been involved in a number of volunteer organisations, and the Glebe Society would have to have some of the most active, enthusiastic and impassioned members as any volunteer organisation I've ever been involved in. A lot of people put in a huge amount of hours and dedication to move forward with the goals of the Glebe Society. And in relation to committee members, I'd like to thank each of them. Mark Stapleton, my Vice President, who's been a great support. Dorothy Davis, who's the convener, who is on the committee for the convener of the community subcommittee, Jan McIndoe. Ted McGowan is an ordinary member, Alan Hogan is an ordinary member, Mary Beth Brinson, who's an ordinary member, Michael Morrison, who's an ordinary member, Nick Sangster, who is on the committee for the convener of the Blue Wrens, Andrew Wood, Orsa Walquist, who is our Bays and Foreshores convener, Judy Vergerson, who manages the events, Brian Fuller, who's convener of the Heritage Subcommittee, and Ian Stevenson, who convenes planning. Both Ian and Brian have been invaluable, particularly to me, with their knowledge of heritage and planning, and they've been a great resource to attend meetings with government and council, and I thank them. Jude Paul, who's our secretary, I thank for her effort in making sure things get done and her endless enthusiasm. Jane Gatwood, who's our treasurer, who I thank and who I think is seriously underappreciated for all the effort and hard work she puts in to the less glamorous but necessary job of managing our finances. And finally, Virginia Simpson-Young, who is the editor of the Bulletin, who works tirelessly to put out our fantastic bulletin, and also on Twitter and our Twitter feed, and also our Facebook page. And she says she's retiring from the position of Bulletin at the end of the year, which will be a great loss for the society. I think she's irreplaceable. And so that position looks to be open unless Virginia changes her mind, which I continue to hope for. So many thanks to everyone, and in particular the management committee. I'll now hand the meeting over to the treasurer, Jane Gatwood, in relation to the financial reports.
Thanks, Janet, and welcome everybody. You will note that the accounts have not yet been audited. This is not, it's not a problem from our end, it's a problem at the auditor's end. I don't think we all kind of realise the knock-on effects of COVID, and this accounting and auditing company have been absolutely swamped in relation to government businesses seeking grants and payments and whatever. So we come down the list a long way, but you have the unaudited accounts, and these are all based on the bank balances as at the 30th of June. So they are almost 100% 100% trustworthy, but the auditors may, as they usually do, a little bit of tweaking, moving something from one parcel to another parcel, but it doesn't affect, none of that would have an effect on the bottom line as as you have in the documents. So my report is always boring. I'm sorry, but it's boring. But anyway, I have finished. If anyone has any questions, are we taking questions now, Janet, or are we going to?
Oh, well,
or they can just email me if they've got questions.
Put your hand up if you've got a question. Okay, sorry. I've got
the audited accounts, when they are available, will be in the bulletin or linked to the website in some way. We haven't quite decided how we'll do that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I move a motion that the unaudited financial records be accepted and approved. I have a seconder. Okay, Phil Vergerson. Okay, thank you, Phil. Did you have a question, Phil? No, okay, thank you.
Move.
You're waving, that's all. Okay, now I'll pass it over to Jude Paul, our secretary, for her report.
Look, it's a movable seat here. I just want to explain, we've had to come to other people. We've had to come to Alan Hogan's house because our internet is interrupted. So but look, members as at the 30th of June 2021, 408 financial members, about 55% women, 45% men. We had 38 new members in our membership year 2020 to 2021. And of the drive that Janet referred to, of course, is we'll get a full report for next AGM. Thank you. Any questions?
Any hands up? No, okay. All right, now the election of office bearers. I'll hand it over to Jude.
Okay, look, thank you. Before I just get into this bit of it, on behalf of the Society, all the members, Janet, can I thank you most sincerely for your wonderful, wonderful contribution as president, and the acting bit, and then the real bit, last year. I'm sure all members completely share my thanks for your time, effort, professionalism, and integrity. So, and look, so that Janet is standing down because Janet thinks she's had her 2 stints. I'll read out the nominations for the various positions. Luckily, there won't be an election. We have 1 nomination for president. It's Ian Stevenson. Ian, for those people that don't know, is it possible to somehow, I mean, don't do anything ridiculous, but just somehow so people can see who you are? Can you wave or speak or something? Could you speak? Could you unmute?
Yes, I can speak.
Just briefly, it's just to say hello, just to say hello.
I will just say something very briefly about myself. I lived in Forest Lodge from 1990 to 2001, and then I moved away from Sydney for 20 years to do with my profession. My profession is as a museum curator with a specialist interest in historic place museums. And for that, I went to Canberra as Director of Historic Places and to Adelaide as CEO of the National Trust. And I worked for 10 years for the University of New England in Armidale. And I returned to Glebe 2 years ago. And I feel very privileged to have been involved with the Glebe Society. It is an amazing group, a group that brings together wonderful talent and passion and is really very can-do in its approach to things. So I'm privileged to be able to stand as president.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian. So that was our new president. We have 1 nomination for Vice President, Mark Stapleton. His connection seems to have dropped out, but he was Vice President last year too, so he'll be the new Vice President. We have 1 nomination for Treasurer. It's Jane Gatwood, so I guess she's the new Treasurer. 1 nomination for Secretary, Jude Paul, so I guess she's the new Secretary. 4 nominations for ordinary members. It might seem like same, but that's good. It's Mary Beth Brinson, Michael Morrison, Ted McEwen, and Alan Hogan. So the formally elected people, there was 1 nomination for every position. This will all be in next month's bulletin anyway, but thank you to all of those people for doing that, and we're full. Of course, the management committee is also made up of the conveners of the subcommittees, of which Janet's alluded to. I'll just say for any new members, please think about joining a subcommittee if you have a passion for an interest. There are no rules about how they meet. It's dependent on the convener and how the frequency and the communication process. We have a vacancy currently for environment and the community development group. Also likely to keep an eye on the environment for us too, though. So, but I'll just say to people, really, you can see from the issues the specific issue may have changed over time, but the process is still the same for us, basically. Officials, government make decisions. all in the best interests of our community and our future. But these interests these decisions don't always consider the impact on our community in various ways, and subcommittees look more closely at this, always in consideration of members' point of view. And I'll just keep saying that for new members, we're not political, we're not lobbyists as per se, we are looking to reflect the interests and concerns of our own members. And we don't always agree, frankly, but all issues-based correspondence from the society, from subcommittees, is always brought before the management committee for final approval. So I'm just, as I said, just putting out a bit of a call for people if they're interested to be on subcommittees which report to the management committee. So thank you, and yes, congratulations. Congratulations, Ian. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just second what Jude says is, you know, it is worth getting involved. I mean, I was a member of, we moved here in 2000 and we became members straight away to find out what was happening in Glebe. But I only became involved in the management committee about 3-4 years ago. And so, you know, and it's great to meet a lot of the Glebe people, but also it's great to get involved in what's actually happening in the community. So I second what Jude said about getting involved. Okay, well, we come now to the next part of the meeting. Now, there aren't any life members being proposed this year. And that is in part because of the difficulties of having a special resolution passed in a Zoom AGM, but in any event, there are people who we wish to give commendations to, who we acknowledge for their hard work and the contribution that they have made to the Glebe Society. The first of those is Judy Vergerson. Judy has been our events manager, I don't even know for how long, because she was certainly doing that when I joined the management committee, but it's been for many years.
Hello. Your medication? Thank you.
She's a great events organizer. She always goes to a lot of trouble to make sure that every event is above the standard that one would expect. She goes through a lot of detail to make sure that everything is covered. And as I say, the events have been of incredibly high standard. She was one of the main organisers during the 50th anniversary celebrations. And as we know, that was an unbelievable success. And in part, she can be thanked for that. She organises the Christmas parties, usually the social side of the annual general meetings, which obviously we can't have this year. She's also a very active member of the management committee, and she's a great contributor to discussions and issues that are part of the Glebe Society discussion. So I want to thank her for the effort that she has made over the years, and perhaps we could all just clap our hands without sound in many thanks to Judy. Thank you. The second person I want to acknowledge and thank, particularly from the Glebe Society, is Jude Paul, our secretary, and who has also been the secretary since well before I became involved in the management committee. And she and Jane are basically the foundation of the history and have the knowledge of the history of the Glebe Society over, I think, probably the last at least 5 to 10 years. And so they are a huge resource. Jude, in particular, organises the annual general meeting. She does the networking to make sure that we have nominees for the positions, for the office bearers and the ordinary members. She takes a leading role in the physical distribution of the bulletin hard copy, and she is the first point of contact for our new members. And she herself is a very welcoming person, so we're lucky to have her as the person who does that. She takes a leading role in fundraising and recently has played a major role in organising and doing the legwork for the membership drive. She also organised from start to finish the Society's entry into the National Trust Heritage Awards last year, for which the Society received a commendation. And as I say, she has knowledge of almost all aspects of the Glebe Society, and she seems to know everybody in Glebe, as far as I can work out. If ever I mention anyone, she knows who they are. She wears the Glebe Society on her sleeve every day. So many thanks, Jude. Claps. I just say that on behalf of the Glebe Society, yesterday I did give both Jude and Judy a bunch of flowers. So they have received a symbol of our thanks, I suppose. The other commendation, if you like, although strictly speaking, we've decided to give a tree in honour of Norma Hawkins. Norma has been an active member of the Blue Wrens for many years. She has been an advocate for the maintaining and encouraging of bird and other native life in our community. She was, in fact, a founding member of the Blue Wrens. She has worked to improve the amenity of Glebe and Forest Lodge for all its residents and users. She has had a commitment to the improvement of our environment in Glebe and Forest Lodge over many years. She was involved in the Friends of Orphans School Creek, which was aimed at improving the habitat of Orphans Creek to encourage the saving and growth of the blue wren population. She's also been an active member of the Friends of John Street Reserve, who work directly with blue wrens. She's been an advocate for the promotion of biodiversity and educating the community as to its importance, and particularly the younger community. We thank her for her enthusiasm and support of projects such as the Craney Small Grants to encourage preschools and primary schools to learn about diversity. A tree is going to be planted, or has actually already been planted by the council, but it will be in Norma's honour, and we'll have a small ceremony there on her 99th birthday in the John Street Reserve, where it has been planted, and that is an honour we wish to give her. So many thanks to Norma for all her hard work, and there'll be another ceremony on her 99th birthday, which is very soon. Okay, so thanks to all of those, and you know, we're very grateful that people are as dedicated as Jude, Judy and Norma have been to our community. Okay, now the next item on the agenda is Tani Burton, who has been one of the people who've been involved in the development generally of our website, and you'll see when you look at it that there are, it really has had a facelift, but she's now going to give us an explanation of the 50th anniversary part of the website, or the website, to show people how they can get the most out of it. So thank you, Tani. I think Alan's going to help her a bit with some of the...
Yes, I'm not sure. I'll just see whether Tani is unmuted. I just, there she is.
I am unmuted now.
Okay, good. And I can share the screen, Tani, if that's what you want me to do.
Sure.
Okay. People seeing that?
I think you just need to scroll up a bit or down.
How are we going? Are we seeing it?
Yep. So it's the 50th anniversary website is still a little bit of a work in progress at the moment. It's probably about 80% there, but I think it's going to be a good archive of everything that was produced at the festival. And when you finally get a chance to have a good look through it, you can see that there was so much work that was done. We're just seeing at the moment the villas section of the website. So there'll predominantly be a lot of galleries on each of the sections with various photos of the events and a bit of an explanation as to what each event was. There'll also be a fair bit of information about the behind the scenes, which you can see under perhaps about the festival.
What would you like to see, Tony? Will we look at the exhibition?
The exhibition's probably the largest section.
Yep.
So when you scroll into that, there'll be various sections, and then you can go into further sections. Glebe Society in Action, you could probably click on that one at the top left there. Coming up.
Yes.
And you scroll down and there's all the posters as well that were created and were up on the walls. So it'll be a good place for people to go back and have a good look and probably have a better look at what was up if they didn't get much of a chance to see what was there. So hopefully that will be done and completed and live in coming weeks, I hope. Definitely by the end of this year. I think it'll go to each of the various committees or the people for them to check through and make sure they're happy with all the copy and the images are there before we go live as well.
It's a wonderful job, Tony, and Sarah and Virginia. You've done a fantastic job.
So that's probably all I have to say at the moment, I guess, until everyone gets a better look and it goes live.
Okay.
And
Well, thank you, Tony. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's yeah, thank you for all your hard work, and yeah, that'll be a great resource for us as a society and also for the community and people who are interested in history in Glebe. All right, well, we're coming towards the end now. Just by way, is there any other business? Just raise your hand if there's anything else you'd want to raise. Jeanette, you've got your hand up. No? You have to unmute. Jeanette, you need to unmute. It's up in the top corner, up in the top right-hand corner. It's usually got the mute, and it's the mute button.
bottom left corner.
Oh, bottom left, sorry. Yeah, there you are.
Okay, only really to sort of more or less move a vote of thanks to you and the committee for, you know, the ongoing hard work. I think it's fantastic that the society is still so lively after such a long time.
Okay, and thank you, Jeanette, for all your hard work that you've done over many, many years. And you've been and being on the management committee for so many years, it's been fantastic. Thank you for that. Anyone else got something they want to raise? Okay. No? Okay. All right. Well, just before I close the meeting, I'll just...
I'd just like to say something, Janet.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Now that I am the president, I just want to say that I will work as hard as I possibly can, because Glebe is a most wonderful place. It's not just one of Sydney's special places, it is the special place. And I've written, I think in the last bulletin, that it is something of a miracle that its built heritage and social fabric survived, but it wasn't a miracle at all. It was to do with people's action and the people we can see in front of us at this meeting. And we have to keep going. and we have to keep it as a special place. And maybe there are some opportunities there because with the change in Premier, the Secretary of the New South Wales, of Planning New South Wales has resigned. So perhaps we'll get some hope there with his successor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, just before, I mean, we're hoping that with the end of lockdown, that maybe there might be able to be some sort of function at the end of the year for Christmas. I'll just give Judy the anyway. Yeah, so hopefully we might all get together again. If not at Christmas, then next year. The other thing, at this stage, we are still hoping that we'll be able to have a meet the candidates, but you'll hear more about that when we work out how feasible that will be in the coming months. But the proposal is still for the local council elections in December. So we hope that we might be able to have something near before that. But anyway, that's also a bit up in the air. Okay, well, thank you very much. That's closes the meeting. Right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Janet.
Thanks, Janet, for your hard work.
Okay, thank you.